Okay,
I think you need that, though. They need to look at
it's
that.
7:01,
I'm sorry, Gary's not.
and I'd like to bring the regularly scheduled meeting for January 7th of Ways and Means to order. And I can see that everyone is here. Thank you very much for showing up. So that was item number 1. Item number 2 on the agenda, to consider and if appropriate, approve a transfer and resolution for funding of leasehold improvements at 3036 East Industrial Road as follows. General funds transfer, fiscal year 2026, an increase from the fund balance brought forward for $500,000 to transfer it out to the DPW transition for $500,000, and then going into capital projects fund, transfer in of $500,000 and an increase to DPW transition costs, repair and maintenance for $500,000. So there is a resolution that goes along with this. Resolved that the RTM increase appropriations for the fiscal year 2026 general fund budget from $141,198,673 to $141,698,673. This increase through an appropriation from fund balance will fund transition costs for the DPW relocation. And with us this evening is First Selectman Josh Brooks. Mr. Brooks.
Hi. We all know the history. We came to 30 East Industrial Road because of. I can give you this if you want. I just have one copy because it's a lot, but if you want to pass it around, you're welcome to. This just kind of shows all of the stuff that's got to happen. If you can see here, this is what we're going to add. This is really the big driving cost. That's the door. So this is the East Main Street. So you're looking this way, that's where they're going to put that door. The paving and stuff DPW will do, which will save us on some of the costs. But this will allow the trucks to come in, the bigger trucks to be stored in that building.
Because right now they're working on them out in the
No, so the
parking
mechanics,
lot, or no?
the mechanics are using School Ground Road.
Oh, they're Freightliner, right?
They're
Yeah,
at the
okay.
other
Oh,
Freightliner
yes,
building.
the real Freightliner.
So they're at School Ground Road
Yeah.
doing the work there.
Okay.
The idea is that once this is all complete,
Mm-hmm.
they have a setup where the back east corner,
Mm-hmm.
back west corner will be where the mechanics go, and they'll be able to do all their work there. Then the rest of the building will be stored, the majority of the vehicles. It's a temporary solution to a bigger issue, but it's a solution nonetheless. So the scope of work is going to involve the door. They're going to use they're going to widen the other door slightly, and then they have to put in, obviously they're going to put in some emergency HVAC for if the carbon monoxide and those kind of things get too high, some fire safety, more up to code. As a town, we have to have a higher threshold than they would, and probably for the use as well. So those are all sort of the modifications. We get to keep the door, we get to keep the
HVAC?
some of the HVAC equipment. So when we do leave, we'll have to restore what we remove, the block and the windows that we're gonna remove from the building to put this door in, we have to then replace.
And this price includes that?
No,
Better off leaving the door and the HVAC unit. Cost more to take it out. Eventually, I would think.
say again?
I think it would cost more to take it out and just
Yeah, I mean,
whether
that's kind
try to
of
make
the,
a deal
the,
later, just have them leave it.
We don't have any idea about that future cost.
Correct. Yeah.
We don't.
No.
Could it be
I'm just saying that.
Again, the price of the material from the pricing we got was $190,000. So
For the new door
for
and
the
the
door, the
HVAC.
HVAC
Yeah.
equipment, the
Yeah.
fire suppression equipment was $190,000 for that equipment. So if you you can kind of backtrack it, that makes it far less for the, if you think about it from the aspect of the labor, you're doing labor for HVAC equipment, you're doing labor for fire suppression, and you're doing labor for the door. If you subtract the labor for the other things, you're just talking about labor. I think the price could be far less, but you want me to venture a guess?
No.
I
No, I don't like
I wouldn't
guesses.
want to say that.
Yeah, I
right?
don't like guesses,
So,
right.
but that is something that we would indeed have to. We're going to save the windows that we take out, so we can reuse those windows. I think it's a pretty big stretch to think we'll be able to reuse the block. But if it was me doing it, I would, because I'd rather step over $10 to pick up $1. But I don't think that's what'll happen. We'll have to, obviously purchase block, but block is cheap in that world. So yes, we would have to and pay for that cost as well, because that's in the lease. That any changes we do,
Oh, it is in the
we would
lease.
have to
Okay.
restore back to.
This lease, Josh, when's the lease begin and end?
So the lease began in, I read it today, it began in July or August. We're in it for 2 years.
To
This
28.
part of the lease, we are in for 2 years. We have the option to renew the lease for a year at a time for 3 cycles
Each July.
each July. However, and when we get to the next part of the agenda, we can have this discussion more. If we decided, let's say we know we're going to have to be there an extra year, right? We have to make that decision
Yes,
365 days
Yeah.
a full year.
before. We can't. It's not 3 months. You have
A year.
to make it. So we'll have to make it a year in advance. But I think based on timing, when we get to the next part of the agenda, it actually won't be as bad. I think the overlap between if Freightliner is the choice we make, we'll see it next at the agenda. If we make that choice, you're talking about a 4-month overlap, really, in my estimation, between when we purchase Freightliner and when our lease ends for the first year. So in theory, you would need that 4 months regardless
To get Freightliner ready.
to get Freightliner
Yeah.
ready, make the move properly, restore the building. So it wouldn't be we would be leasing an empty building for a year or something. It would almost coincide to the time when we're from one to the other. That's in theory. I think we could work hard to get there. Yeah.
Has somebody been working on this since, I guess we got notice in the springtime or something? So this is the amount of time that we've had, was from the spring till now to find our best option, and this industrial road across the street there is our best option
For
for a temporary site.
This, I mean, they looked at many different options, as I understand it.
Mm-hmm.
The conversations I've had, there were many different options they looked, including Freightliner. But at the time, Freightliner wasn't available. It wasn't offered. It wasn't available. They looked at some other sites. This was the site that they felt was best suited for us. I recall a conversation in August that some upgrades were going to have to be done to the building. We could have a discussion on where I heard that conversation, but I remember that conversation.
I heard about the door way back.
Right.
Yeah.
So we were aware that would happen. I don't, when I took office and I was given the price, a document was created on October 31st.
Mhm.
So that's when we first got the document to know what changes need to be made, improvements need to be made, and which was done by Antonazzi, a firm we use a lot. And so once we got that, we got a price through COG, which was much higher, and I
So it
was,
did go out to bid.
it
Yeah.
you don't have to go out to bid through the COG. So then we've subsequently gotten 2 other prices that were lower. So I'm pretty confident that with the lower prices will stay under the amount, the $500,000. And again, I pledge this because this stuff is hard for me on an emotional level. I will not spend a penny more than is necessary. So if the number turns out to be 380,000, that's what the number will be. The other 120,000 will be used back into the fund or, in the discretion of the public and the RTM.
2 other things. One, as you mentioned, them looking around. I don't even know if it's feasible, but do we at least talk with North Branford to see if there was the possibility of sharing space for a period of time? I mean, they owe us for the, for the animal shelter, a little bit.
Well,
there, so.
This lease was signed back in August.
So it was
So we are,
before.
we are
yeah.
in, as before, all of this was before Josh. And
Oh, sure, but I'm just asking if anybody knows if that was one of the things tried. But we're already into the lease, so now what's so
Yeah, we're-
important is this money
We're
for the
6
door.
months in right now.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Yeah,
I
we're
mean-
basically getting evicted, right?
We did,
So-
yes.
So you have to find a place for
Yeah.
public work. And, public works facility, as we might guess, is somewhat unique, right?
Jim, would you like to come up?
Thanks, Josh.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm gonna
Conception-
expand on that.
conceptually, the town was basically getting evicted on relatively short notice. So the town had to find a place to locate, right?
Yeah.
And, as Josh and I had talked, the public works facility is somewhat unique, right? So it's not like, if I was getting evicted out of my house, I could probably find another house that's suitable. But, when you look at a public works facility, it's somewhat unique. So there was somewhat limited options, which I think ties into the conversation insofar as that
Those are the materials.
that almost any place we would go would require some modification.
Sure.
Because of the nature of the operation. So, and I think, to your point, trying to have a conversation with another town about shared services is not easy, and it takes quite a while. You mentioned the animal shelter and,
Just being a wise guy. I mean, 500,000
that's
still
all right.
comes to $16 a person in town, so I think we're okay with it.
I mean, we talked to North Branford some years ago, when we were doing the dispatch, about possibly a combined dispatch, and that didn't really go anywhere. So I guess my point is that these agreements with other towns are somewhat sticky and hard to implement, and they take time, and I don't think time is really an option.
Yeah, thank you.
And I would say that my immediate, I'll be honest, when I got the number, the amount, was that I wanted to see the possibility of going to where School Ground Road and be our temporary spot, and then we could build in my mind, some temporary shelters for the trucks, because you were using it. The rent is honestly cheaper. We would have to break the lease. I don't know if that was possible, but the problem with going to School Ground Road, the challenge is first of all, apparently as a town, you're not allowed to have temporary shelter. You can't put up temporary buildings.
It's gotta be on wheels.
they
gonna
don't,
make
right,
it.
so,
That's true. Yeah,
so,
absolutely,
and
yeah.
then, and the other issue is, it's a floodplain, so if we were to move there and we had a flood, let's say this spring, it would not go well with the public, that Public Works is out of commission for 5-6 days or whatever that is, and we've lost $300,000 in equipment to water damage. So, you know, the decision it just wasn't feasible. On top of, if in the next thing we decide to move forward with Freightliner, there is talk that because Freightliner owns that building, that eventually when they leave Freightliner, they would want to go to that building, which we would be occupying, so that the ability would get a clog in between. So that just didn't work, and so at this point, you know, there's not many options. The plus side about 30 East Industrial Road as well is the town hall is a very busy place. There's a lot of people in a small area. We just hired assistant finance person to replace that one, and
The former
office
assistant finance director.
office space for that person is not readily available. So one of the things 30 East Industrial Road has done for us is it's going to allow us to, we're gonna move engineering department to, we have the office space to move them to 30 Industrial Road, creating office space in in Town Hall to fit some of the other people. And the long-term goal will be to keep engineering with Public Works. And that'll actually work as well if we go to Freightliner, that'll work as well, and I think we'll actually move more departments there as well, long term. So that is also a plus side. You know, it helps us in the short term, but also solves a long term issue. 30 East Industrial. So I mean that's it. If there's, please ask any more questions.
So the funding for this is coming from fund balance.
Correct.
And this afternoon, I asked the finance director for an update on the fund balance so we could get a clear picture there of what's happening. Would you like to give us an overview, Jim?
Yeah, so basically, I think you have to kind of start with the last audit, which was 24. And so the unassigned fund balance in 24, unassigned, was 61.8 million. So what we're estimating where we're gonna be for 6/30/25 is 69 million and a half roughly. Now that's before assignments and any audit adjustments. And you may recall at the February Board of Finance meeting, almost a year ago, right? There was a lot of talk about assignments and different things with fund balance. I'll spare you my dating in college analogy, but that was the meeting when we all talked about this. And at that meeting, there was about $6 million in assignments, ranging from engineering to ranging from millions of dollars for cutbacks for schools. There was some money for Blackstone. There was a medical reserve. So there was a whole host of things for the $6,000,090. Also, when the Board of Finance adopted its budget, they had, in round numbers, $6.5 million that would be reserved for the 25-26 years. So you got to take that into account. And then typically, if you notice in the audit report, there's other categories like encumbrances, purchase orders, and in prepays. And we have historically, the last couple of years, a decent prepaid amount, which is really related to the timing of a bond payment. So we have a bond payment that's due on 7/1. The bank sometimes takes it out, or all the time takes it out at 6/30. So it's a prepaid expense. So that adjustment gets made. So right now we're looking at about 55.8. This 500,000 will bring it down to 55.3. So you know, I don't see any reason why, you know, I don't see us really borrowing for this. I was, you know, it's a small enough number that, you know, the recommendation was to take it out of, the general fund balance, so now the general fund is basically appropriating that into a capital project fund for $500,000. That's the authority to spend, as Josh had mentioned, if it costs $380,000, then we have $120,000 that could be reprogrammed for some other capital need event, et cetera. So that's the financing plan for this.
It could also be used at the back end, couldn't it?
Yeah, it could be, yeah.
Because we have to put it back together, so,
Yeah.
yeah. So other questions?
Yeah, just a quick one. So,
Charlie?
understanding like we're in the building, these are enhancements to make it better for the workers and doing the jobs there. What is the time frame for the work to be completed? If like next week we're like, yes, take the money, go do the work.
Well, so, we will do a bid waiver. We could use the high number, but then it would be more money. And not use it, and you wouldn't have to go out to bid, so we'll have to do a bid waiver. So once, if approval is granted on January 14th, I will have a special meeting for the Board of Selectmen to waive the bid. I would say we would probably do that on Monday, cause I would wanna have conversations with the vendor before I awarded that. I'm not sure, I gotta look at the legality of it, but in theory, you are supposed to wait 14 days to spend, 15 days to spend that money, because a person could do a referendum to stop that. So, if there's a way to kind of get the ball rolling with the understanding that that's a possibility, we will, but in theory, it would have to be 15 days, which would give the vendor time to get everything together, get their mind around it, schedule it in, but that's kind of by rule. We just had that with the Board of Ed. You know, we approved the money, and then 15 days later, we had to, it was a whole, it actually hurt us in a project we were doing, but
Is this the person you're planning on using?
I don't know that yet.
Oh, so you have other,
Yes,
you have,
I
okay.
believe so, I believe so, yes,
So
but
this
I know
is 200,000.
that's the material part.
Material.
You're right. Just material?
Just
Well, you
Gotcha.
see some of it, some labor is in there.
Look like, yeah, I'm looking labor materials, then what would the other 300
Well, and
is?
that, the rest of it would be labor to do the work. So,
The 500,000 number, if I understand it, came from the COG.
that came from the COG.
Yeah.
The COG's
So they-
number was $580,000.
So what I think we're asking for here tonight is a high-end authorization with the expectation that it's not gonna come in at that number.
Correct.
But we don't have an end date for when that construction is completed. I mean, could it be July, like
No,
we've
no,
rented it a full year and never used it?
We believe it's a month turnaround.
Okay.
You got, just the other thing would be the custom door would be a long lead time item, I would
Yeah.
suspect. And you have some other stuff there that might be, the HVAC stuff might be a little bit, but I think the door will be the biggest thing.
Well,
It is what it is though.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve this.
Thank you.
Second,
We have a motion and a second. And I wanna ask if any other questions from the board? No? Anyone from the audience has any questions? Yes, sir.
Josh, the lease was entered into prior to the election. At the time, regardless of whether there was estimates, was it anticipated at the time, if you know when the lease was entered into, would there need to be improvements to the building?
I mean, I recall it wasn't new to me, so I was aware of it.
And it's in the lease itself that the building needs to be restored at the conclusion of the 2-year lease term.
Correct.
If you
I
understand,
was,
restored back to the condition it was when we read it initially.
I read the lease, yesterday, and there was a provision in there.
So,
about that.
So,
What-
so the anticipated costs of restoring it are just, we're bound by the lease, and not anticipate the eventual costs that are
Right.
gonna take to restore it, whatever that cost may be.
Now,
Are part of the lease requirements.
Right. I mean, there's a possibility that the owner may say, ask us to leave it that way.
But not hypothetically,
Right.
it's in the lease.
It's in the lease that it has to be restored.
Correct.
So to your first question, Dan, in the draft lease that went through the Board of Finance and the Board of Selectmen back in July before the lease was signed, there was an actual provision in the lease that would allow for alterations to be made for 2 doors to the building. So it was something that was expected, but I never heard a cost estimate at that time.
Right, no, and I'm not concerned about the process, because it is here where we are now.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether they did it at the time, but I just wanted to articulate the point that it's in the lease that it needs to be restored back, whatever that cost may or may not be at the time. Again,
Okay.
That's correct.
That's all.
Any other questions? No?
So-
Yes.
So do we know why it took so, I mean, I know this is before you were in office, but we got the, in July and it's
Well, we
still-
signed a lease in August, and then these things, they need to be engineered. And you can't get a price without the engineering drawing, which
So
is
it just took
quite
this
an
long.
extensive, so I think probably that was the bulk of why, and this engineered drawing didn't come out until October 31st.
Okay.
Now, I know that Public Works is anxious, and wishes this was done.
Okay.
I wish it was done, but it doesn't, it is what it is.
Okay, thank you, thanks for.
So a vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Nope, thank you very much. Item number
Thank you for
3,
not saying it out loud.
to receive communications with respect to and to consider and act upon a resolution entitled Resolution Authorizing an Appropriation of $10,800,000 for the East Industrial Road Real Property Acquisition and the financing of said appropriation by the issuance of general obligation bonds of the town and notes in anticipation of such bonds in an amount not to exceed $10,800,000. Therefore, and to recommend the resolution for adoption by the representing town meeting. Point out that the full text of the resolution is on file, open to public inspection in the office of the town clerk. We had this resolution in front of us last month. We deferred it, we re-referred it back to the RTM, they sent it back to us. So we have already had a short amount of discussion on this, but now we'll go the full route. So
So
this,
as you see, I gave you that piece of paper. There was a lot of discussion, research, calling vendors, comparing notes to existing work we're doing, including the cost for the doors that we just talked about. And we came up with what we believe is realistic numbers. I would say more realistic to the high end, but as you can see, based on the metrics that exist for us to, we didn't go out to bid and say, build us a 30,000 square foot building, what would that cost? We used the metric and we used estimates from some of the vendors we've used and are using on projects now. So we're pretty confident that that cost there, that in the bottom page, is a cost of what it would cost to build a building. And as you can see, it's anywhere from 16.5 million to 24 million. And that's what it would cost for us to build a brand new building of Public Works. So that does not, what is not included in that number is the purchase of property.
right, land acquisition.
So we do not presently own property that we are comfortable putting public works on. Now, you and I, we could have that discussion. There's property we own and maybe we would put it on there, but I don't think anybody wants to have a discussion, so I'm gonna leave it off the table. So we do not, what is,
Don't mention.
so what is not on there is property that we presently own. So if you wanna say conservatively, to buy a piece of property that's 12 acres in Branford might cost you upwards of $1 million, you can add that on there as well to that cost.
We just bought it for $195,000 last month.
Yeah,
12 acres.
it's not.
Three pieces.
So basically, you know, in my due diligence, it came to me that, okay, I could buy Freightliner for $10.8 million and have plenty of space, and space to grow should we decide as a community that we want to grow. But I'm just looking at it from a public works standpoint. In the public works standpoint, we could buy that building. I have walked in that building. That building is more than enough for public works. And in the previous conversation, I envision that engineering will be in that building as well. I also envision perhaps solid waste will be in that building as well. And I think we have enough room for even more maybe similar departments in that building, and not even begin to touch the garage space that we need for public works. What that does is it solves a need that we have at town hall at the same time in that purchase. We could create more space in town hall, and I think that is an unsung victory in this process. I'm not. If you want to ask questions about an East Side firehouse, I'll entertain ideas that I have for that. But I am buying. I am supportive of this purchase solely based on. I'm only looking at it from the aspect of public works. The upside is the yard is. I mean, I'm sure you've all seen the yard, and I've driven by that yard prior to this conversation. I think upwards of 2,000 times, and I never realized how large a space it is and how large of a building it is. You don't really get a full sense of the building until you actually go into the parking lot and drive around it. The back side of that building, you see the front side where you have a parts store on the west side, or I keep doing it that way, on the east side, and on the west side you have an office space, and then in the middle you have plenty of storage for all sorts of equipment. But the back side is the exact same footprint, well, it's actually bigger footprint than what you see from the street, and deep, where you could literally fit. They've done the metrics of all of our public works equipment inside of that building. We also have equipment, I'm sure you've seen as you've kind of traveled the community, we have equipment in various locations, whether it's the portable bathroom facilities that we keep in Stony Creek. We have police cars, extra police cars in Canoebrook right now. We have trailers around town that we use, but not all the time. We have numerous boats that we pay for storage in various locations in town. All of that stuff can fit on this property. One of the concerns that I had from the beginning was that you were going to take a piece of property on our tax roll that generates a certain amount of revenue. And once it's off the tax roll, it's off the tax roll. But, you know, if you do the math that we are 16 $10.5 million to $10.8 million. Even if it's on the low end, it's still a difference of almost $4 million. That would take you 100 years of that tax revenue to make up that difference. And whatever you purchase would also come off the tax roll, so it would actually take longer. We also, if you will recall, the building generates anywhere from $65,000 to $80,000
The
in solar.
back, yeah.
So you are actually getting something back as well. There will have to be changes made in the building. One of the changes, because we are a municipality, we need to make sure we're ADA compliant. Because the office space is 2-story, we will put in an elevator.
That's not included in the 16.8.
That's not included in the 10.8.
10.8, I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
16.8.
Well, you can do an elevator for 68.
I'll go in the elevator business for 16A.
As of right now, there is no other improvements needed for that building. Now, a concern would be the HVAC, that at some point, the HVAC would have to be replaced. I'm pretty confident that we can do not only the HVAC, but also an elevator for $1 million. So really, you're making an investment right now of $12 million.
And that's a forever building.
And you are now have what I believe is a building, walking in that building, the way it is built, as a stonemason, and as a mason who built things out of block that will last you 40 to 50 years. Relatively, without any question structurally, and because it's block, very, very little maintenance. It's not like a wood building where,
Well, you know what it was before Freightliner, right?
right, it's block all the way up.
You know what it was before that?
No.
That when Fusco was a builder, Fusco Corporation. Yeah, that was Fusco's headquarters, shop, laydown area. That's where they kept all their construction equipment. It's where they worked on all their cranes, big trucks, everything, whatever. So it's really, I was in the building back when Fusco owned it, and it's really an awesome building.
It is.
And the yard around it and everything as well.
So Josh, putting everything together, I'm sorry, I had a flash of like Pearl Harbor. I'm like, hopefully there's no like major accident that goes on that we're putting police cars and everything in one
Are
bill.
you
But
saying that January 7th, 2026 is the day that we're living in?
no. But I was like, wow, everything in one place. Let's make sure the fire equipment works. And speaking of, since you brought it up, you said you had some ideas then on the firehouse. Since this obviously is not just DPW, so
Should we?
since you said so,
Should we decide that the community is in need of a fire out east, a fire
EMS,
of
more so.
EMS? It is my belief, being in that building, on the west side facing the building, there's a parts store. I don't think that we need that parts store for office space. So you could, in theory, make that area be the firehouse where the people,
Okay.
Part of the building.
so you got some thoughts on it.
and then just use, because it has bathroom facilities, kitchen facilities. Like it's. I would live there, really, honestly, if I'm given that option. And then just build a bay along the side of it, so you wouldn't actually have to build an entire structure for
Right.
that. You could make it work in the structure that exists.
Okay. Great.
So I think that's an advantage as well with this building. But again, I'm not asking this body, I'm not asking the selectmen or the Board of Finance to remotely consider a firehouse out east right now that has different expense for a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
But if that down the road was something that we thought was imperative, then I think it's a very inexpensive solution having this building because it's already there. You just need to build a bay or two to house the equipment.
So net, Josh, you've looked at the alternatives and you looked very hard at the costs, and in your opinion, this is the best option for the town for permanent space for public works.
100%. I do not see any scenario where I don't come back to you and stare the public in the eye and say, you know, I'm sorry, but I'm spending an extra $5 to $10 million because I wasn't comfortable with that purchase. I just don't. I am not. You know, you buy an old truck, you can kick the tire. I'm going to use the Jim Finch analogy.
I don't own an old truck, but I
I had a girlfriend in college.
I bought a truck and it cost me $8,000. It had 100,000 miles on it. I had a chance to buy that truck. Do I keep searching and allow that truck to get away, and then I end up buying a $14,000 truck? But the $8,000 truck would have lasted me done the job just as well as the $14,000 truck did. Or in my case, you know, I ended up buying a $25,000 truck, and it's the same thing. This building serves all of our needs and then some. Like it does all of what we need. It overdoes what we need. So, and we know that it's this, and we're pretty confident that if we don't go this route, it's going to cost us a lot more money.
Okay.
And so,
I think what's important too is in the area that it's in is the industrial area, and it fits. Okay. I won't mention the other place where they thought about it at certain times, where it was in a residential neighborhood or potential residential neighborhood. That whole issue, that whole argument is gone. I think it's a great location. It's a great building. Like I said, I've been in that building, and I don't know if there's any more questions.
I was for it last time, so
I know.
I'll pass it. I make a motion. We
We have more questions.
I do.
So thanks, Josh, for going and doing additional due diligence on it. I appreciate that. I have two questions. So just out of curiosity, I'm trying to understand. So what, like, we've talked about the two buildings, the one we're leasing, the one we're getting in. And so what square feet does Public Works actually need? And for the, you know, because we have like the range between 24,000 and almost 29,000. Like how much do you actually, how much is actually needed?
And realistically, I think they need approximately 30,000 square feet.
That they need the whole 30,000, but you're
Yeah,
saying.
if you're going to house the vehicles, put the vehicles indoors, you need about 30,000 square feet.
So if that building's 30,000 square feet, then there wouldn't be space for a firehouse.
I think it's.
Well, I mean, what I was gonna say with the firehouse thing, but not directly related to your question, because I don't, and we've had this conversation, what Josh was saying about this is, you know, there's optionality.
Yeah.
And he hasn't made a decision on the firehouse issue.
Correct.
But there's the option there. But, you know, but I want to point out that the resolution does have language about firehouse in the scope, and it does have language about selling 32 Acorn Road. So there's really two aspects of this. One, but the dollar amount, the 10.8, is limited to just the purchase.
Yes.
So you're limiting what is being done. So the discipline of not doing the firehouse now is dictated by the dollars, not the scope. So if somebody says, well, wait a second, I read the scope, it has the word firehouse and Acorn Road in it. I just don't want somebody saying, oh, that's not what I heard at the meeting. Because
Oh, no. So I'm not trying to argue
no,
over
I
firehouse or
understand.
not firehouse. I
No,
just
no,
want to know how much land,
I-
how
no,
much
the
building
point I wanted to
is
make
needed
with,
to do.
because you
Yes,
said
yes.
firehouse, because it's kind of, so if the town was to decide down the road, that it wanted to do the firehouse, then they would come back, they could come back and amend the dollar amount to this resolution without having to change the scope. And what it also does is it basically talks about, you know, we wouldn't have Acorn Road and this if the firehouse was gonna do it, we would sell Acorn Road. And then the proceeds of Acorn Road could be used to offset any debt, that might be outstanding at the time, especially if we're issuing notes. So maybe that's a little too much inside baseball, but I wouldn't want somebody coming back and say, hey, it has firehouse in the resolution, so, you know.
Yeah.
I'm protecting you on this one, so I'm just saying, it's like, you know, it's like.
So
To
Lisa,
your-
you
to
had a
your
second
point-
question?
Yeah. It
To
was-
your point,
Yeah, I was just asking.
you would have to add on to the building to make it work for the firehouse. But to add fire, I wouldn't call it a firehouse. I mean, to make fire apparatus be able to house in that building, you would have to add on to the side of that building for, in my opinion, 2 bays and for an ambulance and an engine or a rescue truck would have to be added on to the end of that building. But the area that I'm talking about that would house the individuals, so they weren't sitting in their trucks all day, is a small section of the building
Okay.
comparatively.
So right now, the rest of the building then, as you said, kind of will house the departments that you talked about, plus then all the assorted
Yes,
bits,
all of the
the
equipment.
that's
Right.
around town. Okay,
Right.
perfect.
And your pro forma analysis was looking at a 29,000 foot building once, also, so.
Yeah. So I didn't know if that was just way bigger than we needed, so thank you, that answered that. And then I know I brought this up before, so what is the plan? Because like I said, especially after Chris mentioned about all of the the environmental testing of the soil in that place, because if it's been years.
So the
We talked about the
language
rigs and oil and the
We didn't get an
for the
environmental
working
study
on
on
the-
it last
the
time.
trucks, the equipment. So the language in the purchase agreement will address that. We will not purchase this till after March 1st, which changes, state law changes. I don't fully understand it, it was explained to me, but
At the Transfer Act, right?
the Transfer Act, it changes how you have to deal with that. So March 1st, that changes, and so we will purchase it after March 1st. And I apologize, I need to point this out. When we purchase this, if we purchase Freightliner, if you decide to move forward, and we do our due diligence and everything goes forward, we cannot move into Freightliner without question. Part of the agreement will be that the present owner will continue to stay there for up to 2 years. I believe the language that has been discussed was he would have an option for a 3rd year. He will pay us for that lease time, which will offset the cost of 30 East Industrial Road.
Right, yeah.
It's almost a wash there. So basically, he'd be paying us to be over there. And that's when it goes into timing. So that's where I come up with that number of March 1st to August 1st. If we close on, let's say March 15th, we close out March 15th, when August 7th rolls around, we would just automatically probably re-up the lease for another year following August 2027. So we would, make our potential move out of 30 East Industrial Road August 28 into to Freightliner, but he would have a 2-year period. So it would work out that he would potentially be coming out of there on March 15th of 27, and that would give us enough time to do our work and move in when we leave on August 7th. Does that kind of make sense? I mean, that's kind of my thinking on this. I don't want to spend an extra $250,000 on a lease that I'm not using that building. So we will work hard to make that work for us and get that squared away.
And then, of course, I have to ask the question, do we need to bond it, or can we take it out of the fund?
Well, the resolution from the Board of Finance is to bond it,
Yeah,
so if any alteration to that would then have to go back to the Board of Finance, and then they would have to then take money out of fund balance to do what you're suggesting.
But they could do
And I
that.
would not,
What's
I
that?
would,
But they could do that.
They could do that.
I would not be in favor of that. I, while I understand the want to use fund balance because it might be higher than people are comfortable with, this is one of those scenarios where the next 30 year of Branford residents are going to get a win from this property, and by bonding it, it forces the next generation to also have ownership of it, whereas the renovations we're doing to 30 East Industrial is just a short-term thing that's in the immediate. But when you're talking about, if we look at all the buildings we have in Branford, right? Walsh Intermediate School, this building, what's the other one we just did?
Firehouse.
Police station.
Police
fire-
station,
firehouse.
firehouse.
We're in it.
Those have been paid off over time by multiple generations of people. And once we get public works in, we're really, we're down to 3 buildings, and we've already funded looking at 2 of those buildings, and we funded doing some work on the 3rd of those buildings. The reason why you would bond this is because my daughter, who's 21 now, when she's 50, she should be paying for this building just as much as I am today. I mean, in theory, I'll survive that long and I'll still live where I live and I'll pay for it the whole time. But that's the concept why I think this particular situation needs to be bonded, because this is 30 years of enjoyment. Everybody in that 30 years should have to pay for that.
I think in the finance director's terminology, that's intergenerational equity.
Yeah, I don't use words that I can't spell. And those are 2 of them. So
Those are the only kind of words I can't use, actually,
Yeah.
because I can't
So,
spell. We have
to
a
answer-
question
Thank you.
here from Tracy.
I don't know if the committee's finished with their questions.
Well, go ahead and ask.
I'm looking at the bonding resolution, Jim,
Yes.
and it jumps on the call, on the town of Branford website, page 1, and it goes to page 3. Page 2 is missing. So we go from section 2, and then we go down to section 6, is the next one. But essentially, the bonding resolution language does relate an awful lot to fire.
Oh, that was the point I was making, yeah.
Right.
So this, it doesn't lock us into it,
Right.
it just makes a potential use of it, is that correct?
Yes, it provides options, right? And so, I mean, I can't speak to why the website's missing the pages, but basically, it's, the resolution is basically saying if the town purchases, somebody would read that resolution and say, what are they contemplating being used for? So it's contemplated that we're gonna use it for public works. It's contemplated in the future we may look at a firehouse there. If we do look at a firehouse there, it's contemplated that we would sell the front row of that. So all of that is kind of,
Yes.
It's in there.
all of it's in there, yeah.
Does it also say, I thought I recalled something about, there's additional acreage, there was some mention of another $1 million for purchasing additional
no,
acreage.
the-
That's not in there.
what we're actually purchasing is not just the lot that Freightliner sits onto it, but the lot between Freightliner and what is that? Green's End. So it's actually quite a bit of space, and that's where the firehouse comes in, because in that language and in that original discussion that happened in November, that was a potential site for the firehouse, that Public Works would maintain this lot with Freightliner on it, and then the other lot could be used for the firehouse. So the purchase is actually both of those lots, which is, again, a tremendous amount of space that the town would acquire, and does give us multiple options for the future.
Yeah, the owner's not willing to separate that.
He's not willing to separate. It's one,
This is
right.
item.
Okay. Any other questions?
Town clerk now.
Okay. Can I have a motion?
Yeah, yes, I can.
Elisa,
Motion to,
Second.
second, Chris Hines?
I didn't let her finish, I'm sorry.
Oh.
Motion to approve, right?
Yes,
okay.
okay. All right,
Representative Sullivan has a soccer game he's got to get to.
this is true. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? No? 5-0. Thank you very much. Any other business? No other business. A motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
Sully,
Second.
second, Mr. Hines. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much, everyone.
all other business